Знаете, в далеком 2008 году, когда я сама была инди-разработчиком, мне очень хотелось посетить конференцию по разработке и изданию флеш-игр. Но на тот момент такой конференции не было в Восточной Европе. Тогда я решила, ну, если ее нет, значит, ее надо организовать. Собственно, благодаря моим друзьям, и мы тогда организовали самый первый флеш-гамм. Помнится, он собрал чуть больше 100 человек. А сейчас посмотрите, сколько нас. Ну, на этой конференции ожидается около 800. И с каждым годом мы растем и развиваемся. Появляется все больше новых участников. В первую очередь я хочу поблагодарить наших дорогих спонсоров, благодаря которым нам удается удерживать высокий уровень организации этого мероприятия и при этом оставлять низкие цены на вход. Давайте, может быть, их поблагодарим, что ли. Нам удалось создать идеальный баланс конференции между бизнесом и конференцией для разработчиков игр. И каждый может найти что-то интересное здесь для себя. То есть мы являемся связующим звеном между инди-разработчиками, маленькими студиями, а также крупными компаниями и издателями. И я надеюсь, что сегодня вы найдете новые интересные контакты или узнаете что-то новое. Знаете, мне очень приятно смотреть на многих разработчиков, которые в 2008-2009 были начинающими разработчиками игр. А сейчас многие из них основали свои компании или выпустили успешные игры. И мне очень хочется верить, что в этом есть немножко еще и наша заслуга. Спасибо большое. Еще хочу сказать, что мы с каждым годом стараемся привлекать как можно больше иностранных докладчиков, иностранных компаний. Мы с каждым годом расширяемся. И я с гордостью рада анонсировать, что в следующем году мы выдвигаемся в Европу. А 12 февраля мы проведем мероприятие Flash GAMM Гамбург в рамках крупной конференции Casual Connect. Это будет однодневное мероприятие, которое будет логическим продолжением двух наших основных мероприятий в Киеве и в Москве. А 15 лучших инди-разработчиков, которые принимали участие в нашем конкурсе игр, получат стипендии на поездку в Гамбург, и будет оплачено проживание, перелет и билеты на оба мероприятия. Ну, собственно, это такой вот большой анонс, который мне очень хотелось всем вам сказать. Я надеюсь, что у вас получится приехать и поддержать нас в Европе, и мы сможем таким образом привлечь больше иностранных компаний сюда, в Киев и в Москву. Ну что же, я больше не буду задерживать вас, и I want to introduce our first speaker, Thibault Imbert from Adobe. Let's welcome him.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. I'll speak slowly for the translation. Меня зовут Thibault. I'm practicing. I'm learning the language. I work for Adobe. I'm a product manager on the gaming team, and I look after action scripts, graphics, and profiling, and with the new tool we call Adobe Scout. I'm very, very happy to be here. As I said, I got interviewed. It's the first time for me in Ukraine, and it's a beautiful country and lots of great people. So thanks for the warm welcome. And I've heard about FlashGAMM since a long time, and I always wanted to attend. I should have attended last year. It didn't happen. But thanks, guys, and thanks, Valeria, for inviting me to the event. So before going into the details about what we're doing at Adobe for you guys, game developers, I want to talk about the context and what has happened for the past month and year. So really, when you are a game developer, what you care is the audience and how many people you can reach with your content. Whether it is HTML or Unity or Flash, whatever the stack, what matters to you is how many people you can get. And so Flash has always been ubiquitous. It targets 1.3 billion computers and millions of devices with AIR. And recently we added a new feature called Silent Auto Update in Flash Player that allows us to install new versions of Flash Player silently when people accept. So when you install Flash Player, it will tell you, do you want to have automatic updates? And we track that, and we have numbers, and in 6 months we have already 600 million people who have said yes. And if you look at the number, 600 million, it's 2 times the number of Xbox 360, PS3, and Wii ever sold since the beginning. So we have this number in 6 months, and this is 2 times the number of those consoles ever sold. So this is pretty crazy. And we can also update those people in 48 hours. So when you target a new feature in the Flash Player, every month you're going to have 100 more million people who will be able to use the feature and benefit from it. 9 of the top 10 Facebook games today are using Flash. And not only because Flash is ubiquitous, but because it's also a way to provide better quality games. People are talking about console quality games inside the browser. And just for the context, the reason why it's interesting for big companies who have been doing native development in console space, being able to take a game and put it on the web in the browser gives you a much broader audience. You go from, let's say, 60, 70 million people for an Xbox to 1 billion people who are connected to the internet or Facebook and can actually play the game. So it's a bigger opportunity. That's why you see now why social casual gaming in the browser actually happening. What you will also see is the quality of the games is going to increase. You have games like, simple 2D games, but you're going to have more 3D beautiful game happening with multi-million dollar, multi-million euro project that you would see in movie industry, but not on games. And it's happening now on the gaming industry and on the web. So I want to show you this game. It's King's Road. It's an example of a game. And I want to show you what the game looks like. And this is all in the browser. This is not a console. And this shows you what's possible now with Flash, for instance, on Facebook with some games. So it's a 2.5D game, beautiful. It's using the Away 3D engine. They actually modified a little bit the engine, so they have a forked version of Away 3D. And they have those beautiful shaders for, you saw the river and the particles here. And when we were running this game inside the browser at GDC, people were stopping at the booth and thinking, and they were asking, is that in the browser? They were not really sure. So you should check this game. It's called King's Road. So that's an example of what's possible today, what people are doing. King's Road is live. It's produced by the former CTO of Electronic Arts. So it's very exciting to see people and companies betting on the technology with those games. Now, if you have been using ActionScript, you know that the value of the platform is that you can go from mobile to desktop and desktop to mobile with no friction very quickly. And that's why there's AIR. You can take ActionScript code that you develop for the desktop and then put it on mobile. So let's have a look at the features that we added for the past month in the runtime. So there's FlashPlay 11.4 we shipped a few months ago with lots of features, ActionScript workers to leverage concurrency, more support for graphics cards if you want to run your content GPU accelerated on more computers. Again, as a game developer, you need to think about your audience, and you need to make sure the game runs also on daddy's computer or mommy's computer, and not only a high-end computer. And we added some other improvements for the workflow. That was for 11.4, and then we released 11.5 a few weeks ago with shared memory support for ActionScript workers if you're doing concurrency. Concurrency is multi-threading. And also an improvement in the release builds of Flash Player. You can now detect, you can have access to debug stack trace information when something crashes in your application. And yesterday, or tonight, I'm not sure with the jet lag, we published on Labs a new update of the Flash Player, 11.6 and AIR 3.6 with query graphics data. It's a new feature. I actually always wanted to have this feature, and it's happening finally. Multiple Swift support for iOS, so that you can load assets at runtime on iOS with AIR. And some improvements in the full screen UI dialog. It's not really important for you guys, but it's an improvement we did for people using the full screen text input feature. And also one thing that we have internally at Adobe, we have this GDI effort where what we do, we think about what are the small things that we can add to the runtime that would make a big difference for you. So I call that tiny APIs, big impact. Those are small things that our engineers can do in an hour, but for you guys, it's like, wow, this feature is so cool. And so all those features, we added them like movieclip.isPlaying or frame label events or draw with quality. We reintroduced mouse event release outside. All those little things are not big features, but for developers, it matters. And so we're also doing those. So I want to show you two demos. First is the query graphics data functionality that we've been working on. It's really cool. I really like it, and I'll show you another demo with ActionScript workers. So there's my little buddy here, the elephant, and what I'm going to do is I use a new API called read graphics data. When I call that, I'm going to introspect and retrieve a series, how can I translate that? A vector of graphics data objects. And I will be able to manipulate that and redraw everything, all the different pieces of that object. So when I click, I can sample and deconstruct and reconstruct the object at runtime. So I could create runtime exporters to SVG. I could create dynamic sprite sheets. I could serialize a display object to XML or JSON and save it. So you get that kind of granularity now when you create shapes in Flash also. So that's a cool improvement. Another thing I want to show you is workers. So you know that Flash has always been single-threaded. So when you do very expensive things in the runtime, it's going to block the UI. So this is what happens. Let's say you want to make this picture look sharp and you want to create a filter. If you move that, what's going to happen is that every time you slide, you see that it's not smooth and responsive. And that's because you're asking the Flash player to do processing on the bitmap data and also update the UI, the display list. And this is all happening in the same thread, and this is not good. Now with multithreading, what you can do is ask Flash to do that in the background and have the UI stay responsive because the bitmap processing is happening in a different thread. And of course, the UI stays on its standalone parallel thread, so you can have both essentially. So nice and responsive UIs with parallel processing. Okay, so and then what happened is last February we introduced Stage 3D on mobile. Who knows here about Stage 3D? Okay, good. So I'm sure after this event you'll know even more about Stage 3D. But what we did last year, we introduced Stage 3D on desktop with Flash Player 11, and now we introduced it on February on mobile. And it really changed the game, because in the past, Flash on mobile was not able to run on the GPU. I mean, we had some ways to do GPU acceleration, but it was not a programmable rendering pipeline where you could access the shaders and do all kinds of things. So we have companies now, like Zynga, for instance. They have a game, for instance, Ruby Blast on Facebook. Maybe you've played that game. It's using Starling. It's a 2D game using Stage 3D and Starling. I'll talk about Starling in a few seconds. And they decided to go mobile. And to create a mobile version, they were thinking, should we write native, or should we use AIR, so that we could reuse Stage 3D, Starling, and the same developers and the same team. And they decided to go with AIR, and it worked pretty well. And now they have the game on the App Store running on iOS, and it's going to be on Android soon. But this is an example of a big company who has been using the platform for that. You see, desktop, mobile, reusing the skills and the frameworks. Sorry. It's another game from a smaller team. This time it's not a big company. It's called Smart Aliens, and we're very proud that Kim Kardashian apparently was playing this game. Yeah, more seriously, this game is using Starling, and it's a beautiful 2D game. It's a social hangman game, and it's performing beautifully. You should check it out. It's an example of an indie group. It's not a big company. It's a small indie, well, a company made of 3 guys who created this game. And there are over 20,000 AIR applications on the App Store. This is spaced away. They had a native version on mobile, and they wanted to. They also had a web version, and they wanted to go Android. And again, they decided to go with AIR and Starling because it was easier for them to maintain and go cross-platform. And I told you on Facebook with Flash Player we had lots of successes, and 9 of the top 10 Facebook games are using Flash. But also on the app stores, there's lots of AIR apps that nobody knows it's AIR, but they are actually top grossing apps on the App Store. For instance, Machinarium is huge success, but more recently Song Pop or Bingo Bash, a casino game, who actually are now generating more than $50 million revenue. So those games are actually using AIR because they had an online version and then they wanted to go mobile. So there's also some great stories happening on mobile with AIR. Okay, so that's for the past year. That's what happened for the past year. At Adobe, we're super excited about it, but now what about the future? What about now? So this week we announced something new. We made an announcement, and we had a big event in Adobe in San Francisco, and we invited the press and lots of game developers, and we introduced on December 3rd, so that was on Monday, 6 p.m., we introduced the Adobe Game Developer Tools on Creative Cloud. So what is it? Essentially, it's a set of components and tools that we provide to you to develop games. So the gaming SDK to create your games, Flask, which is a compiler to cross-compile native code to ActionScript, and Scout, the brand new profiler that we were building. And I'm going to go into the details and tell you exactly what it is. So it's hard today to get started with the technology. I'm sure you guys know Flash, ActionScript, and you're developing games, but I'm sure you experienced that. You are talking to someone and you're telling him, hey, you should check Starling, or you should check Away 3D. And yeah, you should check Stage 3D. And it's going to take probably a few days or hours for that person, if you don't help him, to get started with ActionScript and developing content on mobile and desktop. So we decided to provide a package that we would give to people that would help them get started with the things that they need, the frameworks, the native extensions, the documentation, and everything. And here's an example. Back like last week, if you wanted to create a game, you had many steps. Like you had to create a project and then go in the compiler arguments, overlay some SDKs together, get a framework from a GitHub repo. You don't really know if it's an official thing or not. Get some documentation. Then after a few minutes, you figure out, and then you compile, and then it works. You have something running, but it's just a Swift. You have nothing in there. You don't have a game. And that is pretty frustrating. So there are too many steps, and we wanted to go from lots of steps to no steps at all. You download Flash Builder, you import a project, and you compile it, and you test it. So that's why we're introducing the Gaming SDK. And the Gaming SDK has all those things inside. The AIR SDK, the frameworks, Away 3D, Starling, and Feathers for 2D, 3D GPU development. Some native extensions if you want to do in-app payments and other things. Documentation and some utilities for compressed textures. And all that is packaged inside a DMG and EXE. And you install that on your in your application folder, and you're good to go. And from Flash Builder, you can import the project and get the documentation. So once you install the Gaming SDK, you have all the steps to get started. The compiler, the extensions, the frameworks, what you need to know. So it's a big improvement because, again, in the past, it was in many different places and not in one single package. So we also provide information about profiling and resources. So Starling, you may have heard of that framework. Starling is the 2D GPU framework so that you can create 2D games on top of Stage 3D without coding on the GPU. So you don't have to, really go into the low-level details of Stage 3D. You have an API that you understand, which is very similar to what you've used in the past. And that's Starling. And I wrote a book on O'Reilly. It's a free book. So just download it, and it covers everything about Starling. Well, not everything, but almost. I want to show you quickly a demo. Let me try to do that. I need to switch. Okay. Do you have something on screen? Yeah. Okay, so all those games are using AIR. So that's one example. I have some more here. Ruby Blast, Smart Aliens, for instance. So I don't know if you've heard of those games, but most of them are using Starling because they're 2D games. But it's definitely not the Flash you used to know on mobile devices. So that's one example of an application. It's not a game, but it shows you what you can do on the 3D side with Stage 3D on mobile devices. So I'm going to play that. Yeah, that's Flash. So another example, more like 2D oriented, this game. Yeah, it moved. I'm sorry. So again, it's using Stage 3D, and it's not 3D, it's 2D. And it's a game for kids, completely different. I actually don't understand exactly how it works. But I think kids will understand better than me. Maybe you've heard of Super Hexagon. So this is crazy. This is the kind of game.
Super Hexagon.
If you start playing this game, you'll never stop.
Begin. Game over. Begin. Game over. Begin. Game over. Begin. Game over.
Okay.
Game over. Begin.
One more time.
Game over.
Okay.
Soup.
Yeah, bye. Okay, one last. It's a 2D game. So you see lots of different stuff. 3D, 2D, fast performing content, and now more like book stuff style.
Hello, my name's Stephanie. I'd love to go for a walk, but I don't know how to dress myself.
Haha. Not exactly trained
Cześć, mam na imię Stefania. Chętnie wybrałabym się na spacer, ale kompletnie... Gdy spadnie śnieg, czapka. Kozaki.
Oops. So if you rotate the device, it has sensor. So if I do this, you should see.
Hurra! Super! Hurra! Wiosna to idealny czas na piknik.
Da. Okay. So let's go back to this. Is it good? Okay, so that's Starling. Now, if you are developing games and you want to have components on top of your 2D UI, on your 2D game, like buttons and scroll and everything, you can have you can use the framework called Feathers, which allows you to use Stage 3D for that. So you remember Flex. Flex was not GPU accelerated. It was not using Stage 3D. This is not like Flex. It's a very lightweight framework for UIs, inspired by Flex, but much more lightweight and focused on games. So you should check it out. So Starling is provided in the gaming SDK. Feathers is also provided in the gaming SDK. And of course, Away 3D. And we have Rob, the founder of Away 3D, who's right there. I see you. And I'm sure he's going to be around to talk to you about Away 3D. And he has a session, obviously, today. So that's another example of a game. And it's using Away 3D. So again, lots of nice effects, particles, and not definitely the flash that you used to know again in terms of graphics before Stage 3D. I love particles. It looks cool. So all those frameworks that we provide in the gaming SDK, we make sure that they work nicely together. So we make sure that when you use one like Starling or Away 3D, they work beautifully together so that you can have 2D on top of 3D. You can also have some Feathers components on the 3D scene using Away 3D because Feathers uses Starling. Feathers is an extension of Starling. And all those frameworks are open source, free, and there's a big community behind. And we also have companies like Zynga using Starling, and because they use Starling, they contribute optimization to Starling, which is really cool because if you're an indie developer or a company, you can benefit from this optimization coming from big companies when you bet on a framework like that. So Flask is this technology that allows companies to take native code, C++ code, and put it inside Flash Player. And why would people do that? The reason is, if you are a company and you've developed lots of games, native games, C++ games, and as I said before, you want to get more audience, you want to put this native game that you have for a PlayStation in the browser on Facebook, how do you do that today? And the best way to do that is to use Flask, because you'll get the reach of Flash Player and you can reuse the code. We take the C++ code and we translate it to ActionScript 3. So there's no native code at the end, but we take the same code and we run it. It's not native performance, but it's actually good enough to run your games. It's actually 50% of native performance, which is, again, good enough because most of the games are costly on the rendering side. So when you install Flask as the gaming SDK, you have samples, tutorials, and all those things that you can use. So definitely check it out. Again, it's a free thing. You can check the documentation. There's some Hello World stuff. And I wanted to show you a demo. So we are inside the browser. There's no trick. I'm not using a special version. So this is the Unreal Engine running inside inside Flash. And so we can have a little walk. And on top, so this is the kind of graphics and things you can do now inside Flash Player by using a technology like Flask. I'd like to show you. Yeah. So you need to check online. That's the URL, Unreal Engine /Flash. And this is running the Unreal Engine cross-compiled from C++ to ActionScript inside the browser. Talking about cross-compilation and other platforms targeting Flash, Unity, that I'm sure you're familiar with, has this great 3D tool, allows you to also target Flash in Unity 4. So now you can also export from Unity and target Flash if you want to get Stage 3D support and target Flash Player to get the reach of the Flash Player in the browser. And there's a session from Unity. I'm not sure if it's today or tomorrow. You should check this session. Okay, profiling. This is a very, very important topic. I'm sure you guys are spending lots of time on optimization and performance. This is probably the most popular topic in gaming. And it costs a lot of money for companies and for you guys to optimize things. So we wanted to change that and really provide a tool that would be a kick-ass tool to optimize your content. So in the past, we provided debuggers and profilers, but it was not really providing the details that you guys wanted, like what's going on the Stage 3D side, what is happening on the network, what is going on the video side, and really understand where the garbage collector is going to be triggered. All those things without profiling, without instrumenting your code. That's something that we're providing with a new tool that's also part of the offering on the Creative Cloud called Adobe Scout. So I have a little video. It's a 4-minute video that I'm going to play that shows you the companies who've been using it, like Kixeye or Rumble, the guys who created the game you saw at the beginning called King's Road. And they're actually explaining how they feel about the tool and what it's doing. I'm Thibault and I'm a product manager on the gaming team, and I've been working on Adobe Scout. Adobe Scout is going to revolutionize the way ActionScript developers profile content on desktop and mobile devices.
Since Kixeye's focused on 3D games for the web, we've always been using Stage 3D, but it's been kind of a black box. In order to figure out what's going on, we've had to program our own tools and debug things very slowly through manual methods. Now that we have Scout, we can deep dive directly to the problem and see which things are causing performance issues, which functions are causing bugs, and which shaders need a little work.
It definitely saves us time because we can understand much more quickly when we've made a mistake or if we're using too much of a certain resource of CPU or GPU. It really helps us understand where we need to direct our engineering efforts.
When I began working with Flash, trying to make it faster and more efficient, I found that a lot of people had to just sort of guess where problems were. I wanted to take advantage of the fact that people are really good at recognizing patterns and seeing, oh, that doesn't look right, something's wrong, I want to know why. And then you could click on that and dive in and find out why.
Scout exposes very granular information that we never really exposed in the past to developers. Things like, what is the cost of a specific function? Where and when the garbage collector is triggered? Or things like, what is happening on the GPU? Or what is going on with the network stack? And be able to reconstruct an entire 2D or 3D GPU scene live inside the tool and be able to update the shaders. Things like that were never possible. This is what Adobe Scout is going to provide.
It's probably shaved weeks off of the current project that we're working on. Basically just using Scout on the mobile platforms to look for enhancements that we can make and kind of that low-hanging fruit that you tend to look for when you're doing kind of tech demo stuff on projects. And each one of our developers, just in kind of mainstream development for all of the Flash projects that we're working on, are using this as kind of their default profiler.
It really lifts the veil on the inner workings of the Flash player and allows us to understand the execution model in a way that we never could before.
Prior to Adobe Scout, what we had to do when a performance concern rose is kind of brute force test one thing after another to find out what was causing the problem. Now with Adobe Scout, what we can do is have a jumping off point into investigating what the cause is and actually dive into the exact function that's causing the problem.
Really today, performance is key. Performance is also money. You want to make sure that your content runs beautifully across all devices, but you also don't want to have sluggish content. And for a company, you don't want to have developers spending ages on optimizing content, and Adobe Scout is really going to solve that.
Is our software behaving the way we expect? And that's very powerful information that lets us optimize for performance and for quality.
The beauty of Scout is that as a developer, it doesn't require you to put any code instrumentation in your application. You're really profiling production code, and that's really key. All of the developers who've tried Adobe Scout cannot work without it anymore. Adobe Scout is going to become your best companion as a developer.
Thanks, guys. So that's Scout, and I want to show you how it works. I publish lots of videos on my blog, bytheray.org. I'll give you the link at the end. You should check it out. And the tool is very, very lightweight and simple to use. So that's the icon here. The tool is around 12 megabytes, so very, very lightweight tool. And this is what the tool looks like. It looks like some other tools that you may have seen, like Edge or After Effects or Lightroom, because you're using the same framework. But the point is, the magic of Scout is that you don't have to put anything in your code to profile your application. So I'm going to go on a website, and all I did is compile this project by just saying yes, make it profilable by Scout. Then I'm going to run this. It's a Stage 3D app. And actually, it looks like the place behind my hotel. I'm serious. Must be the guy from around. So Scout automatically detects that there's a Swift running, and the Swift connects to Scout, sends information, and right away you see where the problems are. And I mean, I don't have to explain to you for a long time that probably you're going to look at this and say, what is this? How come those bars are going crazy here, and how come I have a problem here? So in a nutshell, what it means is the most important thing to understand in Scout is this red line. It's what we call the budget, is how much time do you have on the frame to do what you have to do with ActionScript and rendering. So if you see a frame, and every bar is a frame, if you see a frame going higher than the budget, then you have a problem, and you want to fix it. So let's go on this frame, for instance, and you see that we have a big problem here. ActionScript, we're spending 600 milliseconds when we should spend actually 10 milliseconds. So we are 5,600% over budget. Definitely something you want to fix. And very easily you can see in the ActionScript panel here where the problem is. And you see that text color setting is causing 96% of the time. And it's probably happening because of filters and something expensive in the Flash player. And that's something you want to remove and fix. At the same time, you can go here and look at the garbage collector, and you can filter that, go on a frame, and again, very easily look at, oh, garbage collector is being triggered by this function, or this one, or this one. And same thing for ActionScript. If you want to filter, you can see what are the most expensive ActionScript operations here. So for instance, if you only want the top level APIs, just the language, and it's hard with this resolution, then you can see here top level only the vector push, for instance, which is an ActionScript operation that's costly. You can also see there's an array push, and then again, very quickly, Scout tells you this is where the cost is, you need to fix it. Now, once you're done with it, you can save it and send it to someone. You can save it to the custom file format or export it, and then look at it inside the browser in HTML. But I want to show you something really cool when it comes to 3D. You can go here, and you can replay the session live inside the tool. And the way we do that is we have the Stage 3D engine inside the tool, inside Scout. So we're not sending a video or bitmaps. We are capturing all the commands and recreating the scene on each frame. What's even better is that you can recompose the entire scene on each frame, but just reissuing each draw call. And then you can see the shadows on the right being applied. So what I could do is see if it's optimized or not, and then go here and change things, and then upload it, and see on the left actually my shader being applied. And if I keep progressing, I still have my shaders preserved inside the tool. So that's really powerful. Now, what I can also do is go here and do an upload of this one, and I would see actually just the shadows because I was doing a blending, and now I just output the shadows, so I could do the same thing here. So you see, I didn't have to instrument anything, and it works the same way on mobile. So on mobile, the way it works is you install a companion app from the App Store, and the app tells you, hey, I detected this computer on your network using Scout. Do you want to sync with it? And if you sync your device with your computer, then you just launch any AIR application, and you will get the same profiling without any code that you have to put in your application. So as I said, you install a companion, and then you test, and then you profile. And we're super excited because we have people excited about it and sending those tweets. I'm spending my evenings looking at Dash Scout to find what people think of it, and lots of great feedback. And you're going to see us doing more and more things on Scout, optimizations and new features, and also things that actually We have some really crazy ideas, so I can't talk about it for now, but next year you're going to see some very exciting things. Okay, this is really cool. You may be thinking, it's great, how do I get that? So right now, if you go on Creative Cloud, all the stuff I talked about, Scout, Gaming SDK, and Flask, all this stuff is free. And actually, the Gaming SDK and Flask will remain free forever. The only thing is Scout is available for a limited period, like a a preview period on the Creative Cloud for free. So you can get it today. But next year, we are going to start making Scout part of the Creative Cloud offering. So you'll have to pay monthly the Creative Cloud, and with Photoshop, Illustrator, Flash Pro, and Flash Builder, you'll get Scout as part of it. But for now, you can actually try it now and download all that stuff today for free. So on the Creative Cloud page, you have now a Game Developer Tools section with those things that you can download. So, okay, that's good. What about the future? I'll make it quick because I don't have much time left. And so Flash Builder, ActionScript, the compiler, the VM, and graphics. So we made lots of improvements in the ActionScript side by introducing ActionScript workers. That's a big feature. And it's on desktop only for now. It's not on mobile, and we are working hard to put it on mobile. And it's going to happen not until next year, because it's going to be part of the next version of ActionScript. We also completely rewrote the ActionScript compiler, ASC 2.0, that allows you to get multi-threading when you compile. So each ActionScript file is compiled on another thread, and it's faster, it generates better bytecode. So it should make your code faster too. And then ActionScript Next is going to be introduced next year through a beta, probably, that we will give you guys access so that you can start playing with the new language. So what are we going to do with ActionScript? Well, so those, before I jump on the ActionScript side, those are the tools that you can use. So Flash Builder 4.7 has been released also last week, final version, and comes also out of the box with the new compiler and works nicely with the Gaming SDK. So you should use Flash Builder 4.7 because it also has support for ActionScript workers, debugging, and all the latest AIR features. So what we want to do with ActionScript is build a language that's great for game development. ActionScript is a great language for that. It's right in the middle, not too strict, not too flexible. And we want to focus on performance. We're not going to change the language dramatically. What we want to do is make it great for games. And it's actually a pretty solid language already, but make it faster on mobile devices. So for that, we will give you more granularity on the memory with some new types. We will also give you the ability to leverage threading and kind of shape the language more like functional programming languages. So if you've used functional programming languages in the past, there are some features that you'll see in the new version of ActionScript that you will like. We also, as I said, want to make it faster, and for that, we need to make ActionScript more strict. So we're going to remove some features that make ActionScript too slow on mobile devices today, like some keywords, like prototypes, or some keywords like with, and some other things that we will drop because they make the language too scriptable. Graphics. So why do I have kittens on graphics on slide? Because the team is obsessed with cats. I don't know if it's the same thing in Ukraine, but as a tribute to my team, I put kittens in my slide. And they're cute. Come on. So I just showed you the new query graphics API that we're introducing in 11.6 and AIR 3.6. We're also going to introduce, and it's already on labs, there's a new Stage 3D extended profile that allows you to get more features out of Stage 3D. So Stage 3D has baseline mode, has constraint mode, and has this new extended mode. Extended mode means that it will not run on mobile devices. It will only run on desktop
Why? Because we give you features that will not run on mobile devices. So we give you things like, we are removing some restrictions in AGAL, some new opcodes. We're giving you, multiple render targets, non-rectangle textures, things like that, that may not work on all devices, so it will only work on desktop, but it will allow you to do more things on the desktop and create more beautiful games. We will also improve ATF by using some new compression formats, especially for 2D, because ATF was primarily designed for 3D, but we will make it work for 2D too, better. And we'll keep adding some improvements, some GDI, some little small things to the runtime, so that you guys, have those little additions that you really care about, those little features that we could add easily for you. And so that's great. Flash, Scout works with Flash, innovation in AIR, innovation in Flash Player, lots of momentum. But what about these? And lots of noise happened last year with what Adobe is doing with Flash. And really, the gaming team at Adobe, we are looking at this as really an opportunity. What we realize is that there are some platforms and some customers who actually need to provide games on a mobile browser, on an iPad, or on platforms where Flash Player doesn't run. So how do we do that? So one thing that you will see from us is also provide things on the HTML side. So what if you had to develop a game for a customer that has to run on an iPad browser? Will you get some help from Adobe? Yes, and actually we're already doing this in Flash Pro with some export sprite sheet features and integration with Cray.js. But even through the tools that we provide like Scout and the frameworks, you will see us providing things also for HTML. So really as an addition to what we will do on Flash, we will also do that so that you have a complete stack, so that no matter the technology, you will be able to create content for the platforms. So you should check gaming.adobe.com. There's everything in there, tutorials, what I just talked about. You should check my blog, bytearray.org. And I think I'm done, and I have a few more minutes to take a few questions. I will be around for the 2 days, and if you want to grab a beer, not now because I had too many mojitos yesterday, but if you want to grab a beer tonight and have a discussion about things, just stop by. Thank you, guys. Any questions? We can. I think we have like 1-2 minutes. So maybe like 1 or 2 questions. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Вы говорили о аудитории, что там каждый день, у вас есть автоматическое обновление флешплеера, а у вас есть такая статистика для стран СНГ? То есть вот Россия, там русскоговорящая.
So let me. So that's a great question. We don't share that, but if you reach out to me, I mean, we don't share that because we haven't really formalized that. But if you send me an email and we should talk, give you my card, I can probably give you those stats offline if that's helpful to you. Another question? Yeah.
Monocle is free now, but it will be free on future, or it will be for some costs?
Yeah. So the question was, what's the cost of Scout? Today it's free. What is going to be the cost of Scout? Right now, Scout is free, and you can get it with no limitation. In the future, what we will do, we will put Scout in Creative Cloud. So you'll have to go to the Creative Cloud and get the membership, which is a $49 subscription monthly, and that allows you to get all the tools together.
Thank you. We'll see.